Okay, I want to go over some of the parts in here in a fluorescent bulb. First part here is the ballast. It looks like that. It looks very similar to that in other fluorescent bulb setups. Over here are the tombstones. They're on the ends, and they hold the bulb in place, and they also provide electric circuit. And last item I want to point out is the bulbs. The one on the left is a fluorescent bulb. It's got two pins. It's got two pins on each end. And the one on the right is an LED bulb, and it's only got the one pin. And so those are different designs. They'll need different tombstones, different end points for them. I don't notice much difference in a way looking at them visually, but there are, I guess, differences. As you notice, they are similar in that they have the end point. They're a long tube, and that's because what we're trying to do is take the fixture and just take out one tube and put out another. And part of the idea is we're going to have to change the wiring in here. And so we want to check our ballast to see if it's bad or good. That's our first step here. So let me see. I got the setup over here. We got our multimeter in place. There's two ways of checking this ballast. So here's our ballast here, and it is intact. Their wires are still in place and then haven't been cut. And what we do is we take the one lead and we put it up against the white neutral wire. This is the neutral wire of the fixture. Of course, we made sure that the power is off. The power is off, not just turning it off at the wall, but either it's plugged out or else the breaker is out. And make sure first, we're dealing safety. But here we got the neutral, we got the one lead on there. And then the other lead, well, we take our multimeter, we set it to ohms, resistance. We got it on resistance, and it says OL because it's an open circuit. And what we want to do is we want to check each of our leads here, each of our tombstones, and see what comes up. We got the tombstone here, and the difference in voltage is 6 volts. That is not good. That means the ballast is bad. If we check over here, this one is, let me see what we get. This one is also about 6 volts. That's not good either. So even one of these, if it was value besides OL, it means it's not working. So the ballast is bad. Now we have some options. Our options including taking the ballast, replacing it, and then putting in fluorescent bulbs. That's the one option. That's what you do 10 or 20 years ago, and that still is an option available now. I'm not sure about the availability of fluorescent bulbs. Another option is to get rid of fluorescent bulbs and either use LED bulbs. Either option is to keep the same wiring, use the ballast, and use LEDs. The other option is to get rid of the ballast, use LEDs, and rewire it. If you are using ballast, then you use type A bulbs. It'll be right on the materials. Here's my information for putting mine together, and it's got the type B, because that's what I'm using. I'm using type B bypassing the ballast. So it'll specifically say that in the packaging, because there are type A and type B, and those are explicitly said as one is for keeping the ballast in, the other one is for getting rid of the ballast. And then we want to get our bulbs. In terms of getting the bulbs, there's a few questions. First of all is the length. The length is kind of nice round numbers, 48 inches, 24 inches. So we measure all the way from the pin, the end of the pin, all the way to the end of the other pin. That'll be the length of the wire. Of course, if you come up with 23 and a half, you measured a little wrong, but it's 24 inches. They're pretty specific numbers, nice round numbers. Another thing to point out is, as you can see here, the top one, the one on the left there, is fluorescent. It has the 2 pins, and the one on the bottom has a 1 pin. And I believe that one of the one that was fluorescent was a T12 end. And that T12, of course, of the bulb matches with a um, T12 tombstone. And the one at the bottom here, my new one, is a T8. A T8, and there's also, yeah, T8 that goes, that, and I'll need a T8 tombstone with that. There are T12s, T8, T5, T2s. I believe T12 is 2-pin, and the T8, 5, and 2 are 1-pin. The difference in number is thinner. So T12, as you can see up here, is fatter, and the T8 is a bit thinner, and then T5 and T2 are even thinner. And as you go lower in number, I think the technology is newer, they're better quality, they're more expensive, and especially the T2 might be hard to find. But in addition to replacing the bulbs and rewiring, of course, you may have to replace the tombstones. If the tombstones have a different setup than your bulb, then you have to replace the tombstones in addition. So figure out what bulb you want, get that, and if you need to change the tombstone, do that. So that's that. And then we do our steps to do the operation. First of all, of course, make sure we're being safe, that everything is off. And first step is to cut the ballast out. I'm not going to do any of this action. I'm just kind of show you. You can get information about this from other places. But of course, cutting's pretty easy. You just come over here and you snip right here. General rule of thumb is you snip really close to the ballast. Keep as much wire just in case you're using it. So you cut right next to the ballast. You could keep the ballast in place if you want, or remove it. Generally recommend it to remove it because it doesn't do much good. It ain't doing any good in there. It's kind of in the way, but you could leave it in there and just not wire into it. Just ignore it. That would work fine. And then you may have to replace your tombstones. If your tombstones are different than your other one, then you'll have to switch them out. It's relatively easy to work with these. They slide in and out. Some of the designs are a little different, so you can get instructions based on either playing around with them or looking at them. But there are some different designs. So you might have to remove those tombstones, put new tombstones in. I guess before you do any work on tombstones, the one thing to look at is your wiring diagram. It'll be provided with your instructions. Here's my wiring diagram. It's pretty darn straightforward. There's it shows only one wire, the L, the line, the hot coming in, generally the black, and the N, the neutral, the white wire coming in. And it shows one wire coming in, which is correct, and shows the wire cap, or you can use a Wago. And then the one thing it doesn't show, I guess, is there's 2 lamps on my setup, and it doesn't show 2 lines, but that is what happens, is the line and the neutral come in, meet up with the wire nuts, and then from there, there's 2 wires that come off that go to each of the lamps. But the L goes to the one side, and the N does go to the other side, and for mine, they're directional. Over here on the one end, it does have L there, and that's not L for left, that's L for line. That is the hot side that comes in there. So you gotta make sure you, I guess, mark it up on your thing that that tombstone is the hot side, and so that you make sure you put the hot side over there. I thought these things were could be put in any direction, but it looks like mine have an L on the one side, and the other side does have an N for neutral. So you get all that done, and then it's about doing basic electronics. You've done this before. This is probably pretty straightforward. Of course, safety first. Don't electrocute yourself. You take the new wires and you strip them off about a 1/2 inch to 1 inch. You probably could use some of the wires here. Just mark them as if they're black or neutral. Black as in the hot, or white as in neutral for the different lines that are coming in. But they're the right size. And you strip off about a 1/2 inch to 1 inch. Put them in the wire nut or Wago, and then you put them to different tombstones. The one tricky thing at the tombstone is that they should just pop in. they should just pop in nice and easy, in and out. And these ones here, it's relatively easy to pop them out. You take them and you just kind of pull, or you might have to do something to release it a bit so you can pull them out. But you just replace them in there. The one tricky thing also is, here's my new tombstones. I got these ordered. These are T8 tombstones. And the one thing that is easy-ish is that this is flexible. So that goes in and out. So that makes it possible you can get it in there and not break it. And there is the one end and the other end. These are not really defined, I guess, as line and neutral, I believe. I think they could be used as either one. But there's only one line coming in here. One of these will get the black hot, and the other one will get the white neutral line. And this one on the bottom here, on the left here, has 4 holes, and the one on the right has 2 holes. And which holes do we use? Well, we use the one that corresponds both. Now, facing each other like that, that's how they'll be facing each other when they're working. And they'll be using, for both of them, we'll use the top line. We use the same line for both. And we're going to use that hole that's on the inside, that's closest to each other. So it'll be that one, in this case, on the one on the left will be the hole on the right, and the one on the tombstone on the right will be the hole on the left. So that's the line, that's the holes we'll be using to do that. And sometimes the hole is not big enough, so we have to make it a bit bigger. I mean, we try to put that line in there, but reading online, it seemed like some people are having problems putting the wire in there, so it's got in there and sat in snugly. They couldn't physically get it in there. In that case, you might have to make that hole bigger. So you have to make that hole bigger. You can't just drill right now. You have to take it apart, drill it, and then put it back together, or else you might damage the guts in there. So that would not be good. So you do that in case it's not snug. I'm not sure how much bigger it would have to be, but get that done, make it look good. And then it's pretty straightforward. You do all those basic steps. You get that all put together. You put it all back together. You put the lights in the tombstones. Make sure the power works, and as long as everything's good, you're all set. The one additional thing is that there is this warning that comes with the package, that comes with the lights that you put on the receptacle on the fixture, that says this is to use for LED lights. So just somebody doesn't come along later on and put a fluorescent bulb in there and I don't know, short circuit something or break something. So that's one thing to do. So that's kind of the entire instructions. I didn't do much show and tell, but I think the bigger picture is more useful. But